The Joe Rogan Experience.
Well, I was reading a quote today that someone was mocking from Piers Morgan, where he was talking about atheists and not knowing what happened before the Big Bang, not knowing how no one has any answer for what happened before the Big Bang, and about how this made sense to him. That this is, I think the way he was saying it was somehow or another it was evidence, or at least in his eyes, of something more superior. Oh, here it is. No, atheists can never say what was there before the Big Bang. They just say nothing, and they can't explain what nothing actually is. No human brain can, which is why I believe in something that has superior powers to the human brain. Well, that makes sense. That there's definitely Oh, Brian Cox went after his ass. What did Brian Cox say? If you mean the hot Big Bang, then there may be a period of rapid expansion known as inflation. This theory is able to account for the observed features of the universe, including the CMB power spectrum and the flatness and horizon problems.
I love it.
Brian Cox just came at him with the science.
I love it.
I know what he's trying to say.
That's how you do it.
I know what he's trying to say, what Piers Morgan is trying to say, and he's right. No one has an answer as to why this thing why the Big Bang happened. It's an interesting quote by this guy we were talking about. I forget who it was. I wish I could remember, but he was talking about how people might have been McKenna, have so much faith in science and so little faith in mystical things, but yet science revolves on one initial theory where magic took place, where everything came out of nothing, that it was smaller than the head of a pin. So everything that you see in the observable universe, including planes, trains, and automobiles, all of it had to have had an origin in the most spectacular sorcery the world has ever known. Yeah. Like, it is all dependent upon magic. So he wasn't saying that, ridiculous ideological ideas of the start and birth and death of the universe are fact. But he was saying that, look, the fact, according to scientists, is that all evidence points to this whole thing coming out of nothing. This whole thing existing out of nowhere. And what Piers Morgan I think is saying is that gives birth, that gives proof to something superior to the human brain, which for sure it does. Well, here it is. This is Terence McKenna. We are asked by science to believe that the entire universe sprang from nothingness and at a single point and for no discernible reason. This notion is the limit case for credulity. In other words, if you can believe this, you can believe anything. Well, I think I said it. I said it in a paraphrasical way. That's basically the same thing. He's, just saying it's all nuts, man.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is I like to think of it as in simulation terms, in the sense that if thinking of reality and the way it's perceived and the way that we move through it is a kind of a designed game of sorts. And so if I think of it in that way, like nothing and something, that's just that's the core of our reality, right? We live in a binary reality. Everything is a complex assortment of binaries that add up into a really complex system,
right?
In a way. So,
what do you think it's moving towards? You ever think about that?
Well, that's the thing. I think that part of the rules, or what makes it hard to rationalize, like nothingness or something very, very fantastic, is just because it's binary, we are binary in our thought process. So it's hard for us to not think of things in a binary way. So we think, there was a beginning. No, there was an ending. There was a beginning, there was an ending. But really, it's infinite. It's paradox, right? It's everything and nothing simultaneously. And the absence of which. But I guess what I'm saying is that the idea that things are infinite, that reality is infinite, is kind of a good way, but kind of can be scary, but a good way to think of it, because it doesn't make any sense why it wouldn't be. It seems like we have a limited way of viewing what reality is, and I think we're limited by our binary thought processes, I guess.
Well, it's also interesting that we want to put any sort of limitations on the universe, and that its immense size isn't crazy enough for us.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
Or that we could look at what we know,
That's
right?
funny.
If we know that the universe has hundreds of billions of galaxies, there's a bunch of competing theories as to what happens with black holes and whether or not there's multiverses. There's a bunch of competing theories, right?
Yes, right.
But one of the most profound ones that was ever explained to me is that there's a supermassive black hole in the center of every galaxy, and it's exactly, I think, 1/2 of 1% of the mass of the entire galaxy.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
it works out like that.
So the bigger galaxies have bigger supermassive black holes.
Sick.
And the concept is that there is a real possibility that going through that black hole, you would encounter an entirely different universe with hundreds of billions of galaxies. Each galaxy have a black hole in the center of it, go through that black hole, an entirely different universe. So each universe, when you have hundreds of billions of galaxies, there's hundreds of billions of universes through those black holes. Each one of those galaxies, or each one of those universes, has also hundreds of billions of galaxies, and each one of those has a black hole. You go through that, hundreds of billions of galaxies, that the whole thing...
It's fractal.
Exactly.
Just keeps happening.
There's a resistance. No, come on.
Yeah.
There's a thing like an instant reaction to resist that notion, as if the universe itself isn't already the most incredible thing of magic.
Right. I know.
Like, what do you care if it's infinite? Why is that? Why would you even resist that?
Well, because that's the part of the binary thinking. It's like you want something to have an end. It's like it's a way for us to survive. But it's like, oh, there's an end to that. That creates a need to survive. But when you think of things in an abstract way, like, well, if something is just infinite, what does that mean about us? It's like, that's the question. That's the thing to explore, because then you have to renegotiate your relationship to reality. Yeah. Which is pretty sick.
We'd like to take comfort in the idea that the universe has at least, there's a certain parameter to it. No, it's 14 billion light years, and that's it. That's it. No more. As if you can even understand what 14 billion light years is.
There's no way it could be that number. It seems more like 19.
But whatever that number is, they don't.
You know what I'm saying?
The way Cox explained it to me, and I believe Sean Carroll explained it this way as well. There's a real lack of understanding about what goes beyond that, because it takes a certain amount of time for light to even get to us, and that time that the light doesn't move fast enough to reach us from further events. Yeah. So like if you had something from like 200 billion light years ago, but maybe the light wouldn't even get to us yet.
Yeah, there's things that, I mean, we're living in a time machine.
I mean, that's the other mind fuck. When you're looking in the sky and you're seeing a galaxy or any sort of star, like in the deep, deep, deep distance of space. Yeah. The fucking light coming from that thing left 1 million years ago. Yeah, I know. Or way more.
You're literally just looking at the past.
If you had to imagine, what is the closest star to our star in the seeable universe? When you look up into the night sky, what do you think
is it the dog star?
How far away
is that a star? Sometimes things are called stars, but they're planets from old school times. And I could be wrong.
If you had a guess, what's the closest? How many light
Alpha
years?
Centauri? I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds great. Alpha Centauri, is it? How much is it? How far away is that?
4.3 light years from Earth.
Wow,
that's not too bad.
That's a hop, skip, and a jump.
If you could go the speed of light, it'd take you 4 years.
I bet that's like the Hawaii of outer space. That like they go there and there's a pit stop there before they come to Earth, and the aliens come and they want to chill.
I hope so.
All right, so hold on. This is a
oh shit! Some breaking news.
No, not really. No. So Alpha Centauri is it's a binary pair. So I imagine that means that they move around each other a little bit.
Yeah, they orbit around each other.
There's technically a third star, Proxima Centauri, which is because it says those are an average of 4.3. This one's 4.22, so it's technically closer.
Nice.
I guess that average.
So two are closer than the one
on one day.
Now, do they know if there's planets around those stars? So they didn't even know there were other planets for sure, other than our solar system.
Isn't that crazy?
Till just a couple decades ago.
It's so amazing. To me, it's like shining a flashlight in the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what space is like. It's like you're moving a beam, but like things are constantly changing at different distances, and you can see better under certain circumstances, and you can see at different times. So like it's kind of like a big existential party. You're like, I think I'm making sense of this. And then there's all these theories, and then someone catches another angle. They're like, no. I mean, yes, a little bit of what you guys were thinking, but also this. And they're like, fuck. And they just keep adding to it. But I don't know if we're going to find necessarily anything.
Well, when you talk to physicists about the subject and they try to explain to you how they even reach these conclusions and how they know that there's black holes out there in the first place, and these theories of fucking like these theories of multiverses and
that's my favorite,
and brains, the membranes, that there's like next
M theory,
like lines of universes, and then we collide with each other occasionally. What the fuck?
That's what I think ghosts are, by the way.
Ooh.
Which was like in Interstellar. Was it Interstellar? Mm-hmm. The one with Matthew Modine. Is that the start?
McConaughey.
No,
how dare you?
I know. I'm pretty sure it was Modine, guys.
It's Vision Quest.